The opening scene shows a middle-aged female carer slightly bending over and using her hand to help an elderly male, who is seated and eating, wipe his mouth with a tissue. The scene transitions to the same female carer assisting the same elderly male in a wheelchair to wear a vest. MVO says,
"Carers have been taking dedicated care."
The scene switches to another setting, which shows part of a large clock on the floor. Appearing next to the clock, the same elderly male and female carer are repeating the two same caregiving actions at the positions of 12:30 and 2 o'clock separately. The camera gradually zooms out, revealing another caregiving action at the 3 o'clock position where the female carer is supporting the elderly male to use a walker frame. The camera continues to zoom out, showing the entire clock on the floor with different caregiving actions at the positions of every hour mark, such as feeding and toweling the elderly man. The hour and minute hands of the clock keep rotating. MVO says,
"For family members in need round the clock."
The scene switches to a close-up of the female carer's facial expression, showing her tiredness and teary eyes. She slowly looks towards the camera from the left side and slightly raises her head, which looks like seeking help. The female carer says,
"I'm so exhausted. Can someone help?"
The camera shifts to show that the female carer with her head down gazes sorrowfully at the food tray with a teacup and a soup bowl in her hands. A young male family member approaches her from behind and gently taps her shoulder with a warm smile, indicating his willingness to help. The next scene shows a close-up of the tray which the male family member takes from the female carer's hands. The scene zooms out to show that the elderly male in a wheelchair is waiting to be fed, while the male family member approaches him and helps with feeding. MVO says,
"People around carers could lend a hand to support and ease their burden."
The scene changes to a home environment where the female carer walks into the living room from a bedroom while sipping her cup of tea and looking at the male family member who is holding tableware and walking towards the elderly male sitting on the sofa. The scene then focuses on a close-up of the female carer who is drinking her tea nonchalantly and showing a thankful smile to the male family member. The male family member exchanges eye contact with the female carer. MVO says,
"Families."
The scene shifts to the lift lobby on a certain floor of a public housing block, with the female carer, the elderly male in a wheelchair, and a female neighbor appearing from left to right on the screen. The female neighbor, with her back facing the camera, hands a bag of groceries and fruits to the female carer, who thanks the neighbor for her assistance. The female neighbor then greets the elderly male. MVO continues saying,
"Neighbors."
The scene then changes to the reception area of a daycare center for the elderly. The female carer is pushing the elderly male in a wheelchair while walking into the center. A male staff member of the center approaches and greets them. The female carer nods at him and entrusts him with taking care of the elderly male. MVO continues saying,
"And our society."
The scene moves to the outside of the center. Appearing on the left side of the screen, the female carer reads messages on her phone, while two text messages were shown as superimposed words on the right side of the screen. In general, the messages say that a friend of the female carer reminds her of their badminton session that day, and that she replies with an okay. MVO continues saying,
"Can build a carer-friendly community."
The scene shows the large clock featured at the beginning on the floor from an aerial perspective. The hour and minute hands continue to rotate. Every hour mark on the clock displays different caregiving actions, some of which are being done by the others, such as the young male family member, the female neighbor, and the male staff member of the daycare center. And the male staff member of the daycare center for the elderly appeared earlier, instead of the female carer. The caregiving actions with others help are highlighted with a spotlight effect, symbolizing a beacon of hope. MVO says,
"Let's help carers take a break and show our support."
The next frame is divided by a middle line into two sides, the right of which accommodates the female carer, the elderly male in a wheelchair, the young male family member, the female neighbor, and the male staff member of the daycare center for the elderly, while a total of 4 people, including a girl with Down syndrome, her mother, a young female family member, and a female staff member of a sheltered workshop, appears on the left side. The two groups stand close with each other, smiling at the camera. MVO says,
"Carers in need may call the designated hotline for carer support, 182-183.
The end frame shows the logos of the Social Welfare Department, Care the Carers campaign, which includes the slogan, "Take a break, cheer up," and the telephone number of the designated hotline for carer support, 182-183.